Grandpa Jay's. We're going from this to this to this. Okay, as you can see here, that we had a little bit of an incident happen in our bathroom. The toilet paper roll holder got knocked off and it kind of tore into our drywall. So I thought it would be a brilliant idea of getting some of that expanding foam and put it in behind the drywall and let it harden up, and figured I could use the drywall anchor screws to actually hold our paper towel holder in place. It didn't work. It was too soft. It never actually anchored in, and come to find out, the expanding foam doesn't actually harden that well. And so this is the result after taking those anchor screws back out, and the expanding foam expanded itself back out of the wall again. So I came up with this nifty idea of where I could take some wood, make a decorative feature out of it, stain it, and reattach the toilet paper holder onto the wood.
Okay, so what we have here is the drywall wall anchors that I tried putting into the spray foam, or the expanding foam, and they pulled right out. They didn't do any good. And in this next clip, I'm going to show you what happened after they came out. So we'll be right back. Okay, we're back. So what we're going to do instead now is that I've got this piece of wood that I want to create as my back piece to our toilet paper roll dispenser that I can actually anchor to the wall to make it a lot more secure. So what I need to do now is to actually find out how big I need to make this piece by using our toilet paper roll holders to figure out all of the sizing. So that's what we're going to do now. My end here isn't squared up, so that's what I did, is I marked out my square so that I can actually cut it square. Now I'm trying to make this to where the piece here is about 1/2 inch off of where it needs to be. Actually, first, before we do that, I'm going to do the 1/2 inch there. Okay, so I'm figuring out how wide for this is going to be. And what I did was I went off of our 1/2 inch mark here, set this up, made sure that it was flush to a line down here, and then made my other line here, and then I'm going to go 1/2 inch off of that. That'll give me the width of the board. Okay, so what I was trying to do was make my height about the same distance as what this is, and then give me the little extra on the ends. But I'm feeling like it might be just a little too tall. So I think I might take 1 inch off of it. I'm going to go take off 1/2 inch instead of a full inch. So the total height of it is going to be about 5.5 inches. And the width of it is going to be right around 10 inches. So now I need to just kind of make my lines and then cut it on the chop saw. I'll be back. Alright, so the first thing that I want to do here is that I want to cut my board down to where it's a little more of a manageable size before I make my other cuts. And remember, safety first. Okay, so my lines weren't exactly straight, so that's what I was doing just now, was I was just making the check to see that it was in square, and it is. So now on to the next step. All right, so one of the things that I wanted to do on this is I wanted to have kind of a decorative look to it, so that, you know, it's just not a flat piece of wood. One of these days, aka years, I'm going to get my shop organized so I can actually find my tools. It took me a little bit to find something where I could change out the router bit on my handheld router. Excuse my cord here, it's my power supply, so I'm using an electric router versus a hand battery one. I don't have one of those yet. Someday in the future, I hope to have one. Make my job a lot easier. The other thing that I was noticing is that this board is a little bit bowed. Now, I want the bow to be on the outside, so that way when I mount it to the wall, it just mounts a little bit better. You don't want it, you don't want the high spot against your wall. You generally want that away from your wall. So I'm going to put on my safety gear, and I'm going to use my router and make a decorative edge on this. Okay, so that didn't turn out the way I wanted it to, but I'm going to have to cut out another piece. But before I do, I'm actually going to flip this over and I'm going to try something different to see if I can get a much better result of what I'm looking for. All right, I cut out my new piece. I decided to go ahead and go with the same bit that I had because it had a much better design than some of my other bits. I did some testing during the break to ensure that I had the right height and the design look that I wanted. It's pretty close. I'll have to do some sanding afterwards to kind of fine tune it, but I think I've got it right where I want it now. You saw in an early segment that I was using the miter saw, and I was not wearing hearing protection. That's not a good thing. You don't want to go deaf, and that some of these tools are very loud. So let's get to it. Alright, so by using the power sander, I accidentally made one corner a little too sharp. So what I want to do now is I want to go back over it and just kind of hand sand it. So I'm going to take my sandpaper off of my sander and just go back in by hand. What I'm doing here is I'm actually getting rid of some of the high spots that was created by the router that I just wanted to have it have a much softer look to it. All right, now what I need to do is put the pieces on here for a mock-up to find out exactly where I need to make some of my holes. All right, so I was going to try and drill some pilot holes, put the screws in to mount to my wall on my drill press. But once again, my shop is so disorganized right now that I couldn't find the chuck for it. I swear that it was by my drill press, but I can't find it. So I'm actually going to attempt to do this by hand. All right, I think one of the holes I drilled a little too deep. I'm hoping it still works. What I was trying to do was to get the screw to countersink, but yet be able to hold on, and then I'm going to come back in later with a dowel and fill in the hole and then cut it flush so that it has a nice clean look. Now the bad part is that as I was trying to drill, some of the wood kind of chipped off, so I'm going to try and sand it somewhat smooth. Hopefully I can get rid of some of that chipping. All right, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pre-drill the holes for where I'm going to mount these brackets on, because I'm going to stain it next, and I want to make sure that I can still find the holes after I get done staining it. Now I'm not going very deep because the screws aren't that long, and I want to make sure that it can still bite into some of the wood. All right, got that done. So now on to staining. I think I've talked about these before. If you ever get a chance, you got to get some of these. They're great for lifting your projects up off of the table so that your stain isn't getting onto the paper that you're going to put underneath or whatever you're going to have underneath. And it just keeps everything up and makes it to where it will dry a lot better. Alright, I put some newspaper down underneath of my board to catch some of the drippage of the stain. Newspapers are becoming a thing of the past. It's really hard to get a hold of them now, not to mention the fact that they're very expensive. So one of your other options that you might want to do is if you can go somewhere, I'm not sure where you can get them right now. I will find out in the future. But if you get like some brown butcher block paper, or some crafting paper that's on a roll, you can have yourself some underlaying stuff or paper to catch all the stain. All right, and the stain I'm going to use, I've got to grab it here in just a minute, but the stain I'm going to use is an ebony color. It's more of a black, and the reason why I'm choosing this one is I believe that it will match my wall color a lot better without it just like popping out in your face. It'll blend in and that, so it's a lot subtler. And then having the chrome fixture on top, this is what's going to pop. All right, earlier I couldn't find a right-handed glove, so I was trying to use a left-handed glove. I am right-handed, so it wasn't working very well, so I went and found my right-handed glove. I do suggest using the heavier duty gloves because I have used those thin latex gloves and it seems like the stain soaks through it and still gets on my hands. I don't know why, but it does, and they tear easier. So if you just go into the kitchen section of any retail store, I would suggest getting the rubber gloves. They're a lot better control. All right, we're gonna let that dry. See you soon.
All right, here I am taking my Japanese handsaw and I am cutting off the excess spray foam that came oozing out of the wall that did not work to hold the apparatus for the paper towel holder. Here I'm drawing in pilot holes so that I know where to screw my screws into the wall to hold up the base plate. Here I am putting in the drywall screw anchors so that I can screw in the pieces where there is not a stud. Alright, this is the type and length of screw that I'm going to use to attach the base plate to the wall. Alright, I'm going to put some glue inside of the hole so that it will keep the dowel attached to inside. And what the dowel is going to do is it's going to hide the screws and make it look flush so that you can't really see any screw holes in the base plate. So here I'm sticking the dowel into the hole, trying to get it nice and snug, and then I'm going to take my Japanese saw and cut it to where it's flush. And now I'm going to take some stain and stain over the top of the dowel so that it matches the base plate. And I'm also going to put on another coat on the base plate so that it all matches pretty close to each other. Alright, now that it's all dry, I'm going to start attaching the toilet paper holder hardware. Alright, here it is, the final product for our toilet paper holder with the back base.